apparently you've worked on a restaurant from the past with the technology of the future. Okay, you need to tell me more about this.
You're talking to me about Inamo.
Okay.
We first worked on Inamo probably about 15, 20 years ago. Originally, it was a restaurant on Wardour Street in Soho. Very much technology driven. It's Pan Asian food, and the food's got to stand up on its own as well, which it does do. The food is excellent, but it was we had a series of projectors set up into a ceiling, which projected down images onto your tabletop, and within the actual tabletops we had integrated mouse mats, effectively, that you could order your food, order your drinks. You could change what desktop tablecloth you wanted, if you like, because it was all projected down. You could actually see into the kitchen at the time, and with that, you could pay your bill. You could do all sorts of things. We were talking about robot waiters at one stage, but that never came through. But in terms of what it was, that for its time, it was well ahead of itself. And we ended up doing 3 restaurants for Inamo.
Yeah.
2 of them are still going, and one unfortunately shut down. Although, yeah, it did well. It did well.
So how did you come about that? And how does someone build a restaurant like that?
Again, Wardour Street, which was the first one, was a real complex challenge. I don't know if you know, but there's lots of sort of recording studios and things in that area.
Okay.
So working times during the day was quite restricted. We were 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Some people wanted us working very early in the morning because they recorded in the afternoons, and vice versa. No one really wanted us working at all, in reality. We had to link through some spaces and build some spaces as well. So that was quite a complex build in terms of logistics for what it was in the first place. Secondly, it was a basement space for a bar. It was a basement space for kitchen and everything else that goes with that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the integrated technology sort of side of things, we were hardwiring these projectors, and you had to think about your ceiling space. These popped through, but being what they were at the time and everything else, they were quite hot in terms of heat build up. So we had to consider airflows through the actual ceiling space to keep these things working to the correct temperature, and all of this sort of side of things sort of came through as part of that design.
I'm like, honestly, it sounds like something we're going to see in like 20, 30 years, but how come we were seeing it, or it was there 15 years ago?
As I say, I think it was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And the sort of next progression when we did the sort of second and third restaurants was using hand movement itself rather than an integrated mouse mat, and that moved forward.
So what's the future of that type of technology? Do you think it has a future, or do you think it was, that was just maybe, I don't want to use the word gimmick, but it was something.
It was a draw to draw people in, certainly, and still is. The food's got to stand up for itself, though, to bring you back again.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of technology that can go into a restaurant these days.
Yeah.
And the companies that we could name that will actually help you with that sort of thing. UAV and your projection.
Give us some examples of the stuff that you've put into restaurants, or that people have, said we want to incorporate this. Me being a bit of a, I'm the other side, not being involved in restaurants, is, I just think the fact that all of the till systems, we used to have a client back in the day who run till systems for restaurants like this. So that was kind of what I saw. But, so what technology can you put into a restaurant or a bar?
Okay, if we sort of walk through a restaurant in terms of the technology that you got, you're thinking of, your basic sort of stuff like your till system. Yep, certainly. Whether that's terminal LED or whether that's iPad LED and that sort of side of things. You're looking at your music.
Okay.
In terms of zoning of spaces, can I play different music in different areas, different levels? You're looking at in terms of audio visual. in terms of projection. Can I have a cinema space within that restaurant, which we have done on different ones? TVs, sports bars, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
High level of localized sort of booth interaction, as well as general sort of customer information points and that sort of thing, and whether they show different sports in different areas as well.
Okay.
Can the customer control it? We've looked at all that sort of thing before. If you're looking at your other sort of side of things, is in terms of your music and your DJ points and all of this sort of thing that can come through, that's the general sort of stuff which is everyday.
Yeah.
The projection stuff in terms of what we did with INEMO was another level again then.
Right. Okay. So what's your favorite part of INEMO that you did?
INEMO, if you like, developed as we went through. I think the initial technology and getting that thing open in the first place was a real challenge on the first one.
Yeah.
I think the second one, the level of finish was another elevation up again.
Okay.
We had lots of translucent stones and this sort of thing, which had been backlit.
Wow.
And with that, the company called Translucent Creations did that, and I believe they're still running through and everything else, and very sort of veneers of stone and that sort of thing, and lighting, very, very, very bespoke joinery pieces as well.
Yeah.
Came through and got integrated. But just seeing that elevation, if you like, through INEMO, from going from what was a basic, this is all about technology the first time, to the second time, this is the restaurant with the technology, but it's about the environment as well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's the food that ties the three together that we did.
100%. So where do you see it going in the future?
In terms of technology?
Yeah, technology and food and restaurants, because obviously, you said about the ordering and bars and tills and things like that, but is there any innovation that it's sort of it's pricked your interest?
I think it's not necessarily pricked my interest as such, but I think what you're seeing now is customer-based payments. Wagamamas, you're basically scanning and paying and walking out and things like that.
Yeah.
I think you'll see a development in that sort of side of things. I think your till systems are getting a lot simpler these days, a lot more lightweight, more portable.
Yeah.
In what you're doing, how that then functions back to the kitchen and the printers or screens and that sort of thing back in the kitchen for the chefs to work off.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing a lot more screens rather than tickets these days.
And we've touched on hospitality rising in the past. Do you think that's a positive thing or a negative, or it could be a mix of both? Because obviously we want to incorporate new jobs into the industry. I mean, because I always see tech from a perspective of it's complementary rather than taking one's job away. So
I think if you look at hospitality rising and the way hospitality rising is helping at the moment and where its focus might go to as well, I think you will see that it will focus more on probably the under 30 going forwards. I haven't been told that, but that's my perception of where that will be. Those are the people that, I'm not being funny, grew up with technology. They're far more adapt to it. If you want your iPhone sorted, give it to your child.
Absolutely.
So as we get with that, you'll get much more sort of self-awareness around the next generation, if you like, coming through with and comfortable with that technology. That will then come through in that design.
Understood. So what's your advice for anybody who's going to look to incorporate more technology into their business?
I think be brave.
Yeah.
I think future-proof in some respects. A lot of things, you look at what we've done in the last 15 years. We've gone from hardwired everything with Cat 4. It's now up to Cat 5, Cat 6E, whatever wiring that gets put in, but a lot of things on Wi-Fi these days.
Yeah.
And that development through. So when I say future-proof things, just think about how it might work in the future.
Gotcha. So if anyone wants to ask you questions on technology in the hospitality space, how do they best get hold of you?
It's always by email. It's always the best first port of call. It's Julian at jca-ltd.co.uk. And then hopefully we can have some conversations.
Awesome, Julian. Been a pleasure as always.
Yeah, thanks very much.